This video is to show people that I believe these two are liars. And if you believe two people to be liars, and I believe this video shows them lying, if you believe that they are liars, then it throws into question everything else they say. Because when can you trust a liar? Do you then say, oh, I believe they lied about this, but this bit's true? So what is the lie? What is this big lie? Now, even if they were sexually abused, there's a thing called a statute of limitations. And it's only 3 years from when you become an adult in California. I think they're pushing it out to 10 now, but it's 3 years. And if that time limit's up, well, it's one of those too bad, so sad scenarios. You cannot go and seek justice against this person. But there is a big loophole. And that loophole is, if you never knew it to be abuse, if you couldn't understand it as abuse, or if you went to therapy and it was discovered that this happened to you, the clock restarts. It's like you hit that reset button, and now all of a sudden, this big roadblock is removed. You can sue. And guess what? They're suing. They're suing for $1 billion. But to do that, they have to keep up with this lie that they didn't understand, that they were sexually abused having oral and anal sex with this man. So we're going to watch these videos, these clips of the Oprah interview, and you're going to see firsthand how they keep up with this lie and why they have to lie for their lawsuit, which is still pending, their $1 billion lawsuit, to proceed. Watch these two lie over and over again.
Know that it was abuse.
Yeah, at that point, when the abuse started, and when I was 11, even when I was 22, and later, I had no understanding that what Michael did to me sexually was abuse.
He had no understanding that what happened to him was abuse. No understanding. Even as an adult, even in his 20s when he testified, even when Michael died, no understanding. Come on, man. This is really hard to believe. It's very easy to get your head around the idea of what is sexual abuse. It is you, as a child, having sex with an adult. And you may have struggled to understand your emotions and all these things, but it's not a question of whether you understand your emotions. It's a cut and dry thing. Did this happen to you? Swear under oath. Did this happen or did this not happen to you? They understood it. They understood it clearly. But they're not saying, hey, we understood it to be abuse, and we decided that we're going to protect Michael. Because guess what? No lawsuit. If they said, yeah, we knew we were having sex with Michael, we knew it was child abuse, but we wanted to protect him because we love him, well, there is no lawsuit for that. The statute of limitations has expired. It has to be that you do not understand it. So that's what he's saying. Let's look at the next clip.
Adult men.
Right.
But when did you start to think of it as abuse?
It wasn't until Wade came out. I was really suffering. I couldn't sleep at night. I would sleep for 2 hours and I'd wake up and my body was buzzing, and I'd be up all night. And I hated myself. And I don't know why. It's like, why do I hate myself? This intense feeling of hate you don't understand it. And then when I see Wade come out, you go, okay, maybe there's a reason for this. And if there's a reason for this, now I can figure out what to do about it.
So
but you don't think it's abuse.
So when Wade...
So he says if there's a reason for this, maybe he can do something about it. Well, the truth be told, he was already contacted by Wade's legal team. They'd contacted him. They were trying to get to go after Jordan Chandler. He apparently fled the country. He didn't want anything to be involved with this case. So I find it really dishonest that he's saying, oh, I saw it on TV and I couldn't sleep and maybe I should do something about this. Well, that's not how things went down. You're just lying. Why didn't you say, hey, I was contacted by the legal team and I started to think about it? But he can't say that. Remember, it has to all come out under therapy. He wants to hit that reset button on the statute of limitations.
What to do about it.
So
But you don't think it's abuse.
So when Wade came out and we saw him on the Today Show, was that the first time you consciously recognized there were others? Because obviously you recognized there were others because you testified in a trial.
Recognize there were others. I mean, I testified when I was a little kid.
A little kid, see, that's diminishing language, like I didn't understand it. I believe he was 15 years old at the time. You're going to understand that when you're 15, if you're having sex with a man at age 10, that's called sexual abuse. If you'd performed oral sex on a man, that is sexual abuse. And he uses this diminishing term. I was a little kid.
And you don't think about there being others. Your brain doesn't go there. You're just thinking about you and him.
How could he not understand that the most publicized story of 1993 involving Jordan Chandler and the scandal and all of that, how could he not think of other victims? It was every day in the news. So again, I'm seeing somebody being dishonest and trying to diminish their role and come up with this excuse like, oh, I didn't understand it, you know?
And so, you know, when Wade came out, I was triggered by it.
Triggered is such an interesting word, isn't it?
Had tried to get a job working with his organization or going on tour. Why would you want to continue? Can you explain to people why you want to continue the association if you have been abused?
I had no understanding of it being abuse. You know, I loved Michael.
That reaction, oh, I had no understanding. So the question was, why did you try to work for Michael Jackson's Circus du Soleil after he died? And he says that even in his 30s, he didn't understand it and he loved Michael. This is really pushing believability at this stage. It really is. It's like shocking. It's like you are blatantly lying and repeating this lie. And it all goes back to the lawsuit. You have to lie.
Many, many times that I gushed over him publicly in interviews or whatever it may be, that was from a real place, you know? While never forgetting any of the sexual details that happened between us, but having no understanding that it was abuse, having no concept in my mind that anything about Michael could ever be bad. Anything that Michael did was right to me.
How could he say that there was no concept that it was bad? I mean, come on, man. You were an adult. You swore under oath. You were drilled. You kept saying no. I mean, of course, every smart person in this world would know that even if you want to hide it, it's abuse.
For so many years.
So even when you're on the witness stand and you were up there for hours and it is grueling to be on trial for anything, even when you're on the witness stand defending him, you still did not think he was doing anything bad, or were you defending him because of your love for him? That's what I'm trying to understand. Did you think he might have done a bad thing, but I'm going to defend him, or did you not think it was bad? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that reaction of him thinking. It's like, how do I spin this? I got to say something. Like, I lied under oath. If it happened, I lied under oath. Or nothing happened, and I defended my friend. But he's really looking for something to wing it. And listen to how he wings it.
I didn't think about it. As far as that concept, I couldn't even, I know this now, that I couldn't even go there. I couldn't even question Michael. Because if I was to question Michael and my story with Michael, my life with Michael, it would mean that I would have to question everything in my life. So it wasn't even an option to think about it. Michael was good. That was all that existed in my mind. Michael never.
In your mind, you were there to protect him and to save him.
That was a huge part of it.
Yeah.
You know, he started that.
So there you go. It's like he wings it. He's trying to find something to say. And he's like, I had no concept. And, you know, this is a liar. You're listening to somebody caught out. Oprah just caught him out. Like, what were you thinking? And he had to come up with something. And this is what he came up with. And the reaction on his face when he's thinking, you're like, it's a liar.
You know, as it said in the film, I started seeing in my head it happening to my son. And that was the first moment that I ever thought in my life, maybe I need to tell someone about this.
So this is another invention of the lawsuit, that when he had his son, he started to wonder if he was going to abuse him and whether there was going to be sexual, and it drove him crazy. And, you know, it's really sickening if that's actually happened. But come on, man, this is a lawsuit. And you need a reason. You need, like, a reason why this started, and you say it was a breakdown, and then you say, well, it's my son. And how about it was $1 billion you wanted?
Before.
Yeah.
But you were also lying to the therapist.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
You were lying to the therapist because you were determined that you're going to protect.
Right. And
there's Oprah Winfrey, and she's putting pieces together, and she just doesn't get it. It's like you were having therapy, and none of this came out. So why'd it come out later? And she uses the word lying, and it's the only word to describe what he's doing, because this interview's like, it's almost like a school principal or a teacher when they catch kids and they're doing something and they're trying to get to the bottom of it, and you watch kids squirm because they're lying. You know, if you've ever remember back to childhood and you're pulled up with somebody else for doing something, and you watch your friends lie, or you lie, and you try to get away with it. This is exactly the same sensation I'm getting. I'm just watching somebody spin it.
Yes, but when you filed the lawsuit in, what, 2014?
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
You were looking for financial...
Well, what it's about was I was trying to figure out, a desire started arising in me once I was, I don't know, maybe about 9 months or so into my healing process after disclosing. Well, the question was, what could I do something good with this bad? You know, with this horrible thing that happened to me? What could I do that could maybe turn it into something good? Is there a way, is there a platform, is there a place where I can tell this story that would be a credible, powerful platform to tell it within?
So he leaves out that he tried to have a book deal. He tried to sell a book with salacious tales of sexual abuse and a whole bunch of other things. The reason why the book was never published, because no publisher wanted it. They didn't want to touch it. Okay? And then comes the lawsuit. Let's continue.
You know, where they would have to listen, right?
They who?
The estate.
The estate,
yeah.
okay.
That they would have to be held accountable. You know, I could have, I guess, just gone on some TV shows and done some interviews, and more than likely it would have been sensationalized and over in a couple of weeks. So for me, that's where it began, is what, you know,
but
that's one of the platforms we have, is the legal system.
Okay.
This is where we bring this sort of stuff.
So did you think that you were owed money, that you should have some money?
It wasn't a thought of mine. It isn't a thought of mine.
Can you believe that? It wasn't a thought of his. He's suing for $1 billion. They listed a whole bunch of things why he needed money. He couldn't work anymore. He was traumatized by Michael. He couldn't direct anymore because Michael Jackson had this prophecy it'd be bigger than Spielberg, which caused a mental breakdown. And then he couldn't work because the industry was so in love with Michael, he would be blacklisted and all these other things. And guess what? When his lawsuits failed, he went back to work. So he was very much after money as compensation because he wasn't working. But it wasn't about the money.
It seems like you're further along in the disentanglement. You are, Wade. Yes?
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Is it because you had more therapy, you thought about it more, what?
And everybody's journey is completely individual, and everybody's timing is completely different. That's something I've really learned through this process.
Okay, that's the last clip. And I wanted to show that because he can't say that he's healed. He can't say it's better because the lawsuit is still pending. If you say everything's better now and I'm pretty much healed, well, guess what? Your damages go down. So he can't say that, and James can't say that. And look at the shrug. When he does that little shrug, when she asks, that's him saying, oh, gee, I don't want to blow my lawsuit right here. So all in all, this to me, these video responses, this live interview, I'm so glad it's live and not edited. It shows two people who are lying. Regardless of whether any sexual abuse took place, they're lying. Either it didn't take place and it's all made up, or B, it did take place and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna lie through my teeth to get around this statute of limitations, and I'm going for the $1 billion. So that means they're liars. If they're lying about not understanding it to be abuse, what else are they lying about? Are they lying about what did take place? Did something take place and they sensationalized it and said, well, there was porn, there was oral sex, there was sodomy. If you sensationalize it and you're going and your game plan is for an out-of-court settlement, well, that's what you're going to do. You hope that the Michael Jackson estate reads the claim and says, wow, this can never see the light of day. I know you're after $1 billion, but will you take $50 million each? And they're going to say, yeah, maybe that was the game plan. Okay? And you got to sensationalize it because that's your goal. This is pretty much an extortion case in my books. Okay? This is extortion. They're after the money. They're playing the game. And just look at the body language. Look at their minds spinning as they try to diminish their responsibility as adults to report child sex abuse. And it's a responsibility as well. If you're being abused or were abused and now this guy's still sleeping with kids, you have a moral and legal obligation to support the police. The police come to you and say, did this happen? We want to put this guy away to save other kids. You better get on board. Okay, so I really dislike how these two are being presented as some sort of heroes who are coming forward. They're either lying 100% or they're lying about aspects of it to line their pockets with money and fortune and riches. Don't be fooled, people. Like this video, share it, let people know. This video shows two liars, and this is a con.